under lawfulness and effectiveness in use of public resources, there was failure to construct governor's residence and irregular rental allowance. Is that resolved?
Not yet resolved.
Okay. Failure to pay full premium on staff medical insurance.
It was partially addressed. They paid something.
So still outstanding. 1/3 of basic salary rule. This is a matter that should be kept in view.
Yes, it's still
because you've got new deductions that come from parliamentary decisions.
Sure, yes.
Ethnic composition of employees.
This is also an issue.
This can also be kept in view because the Committee on Cohesion has been doing an inquiry on it. Irregularities in interest management.
We have seen a lot of progress.
But is it closed?
It's not closed.
Is your query closed?
Not yet.
Failure to implement recommendations of the County Legislative Oversight Committee.
We noted that out of the issues that we had raised, only one issue that had not been addressed. And
as we had mentioned, this is one of the few counties where we are seeing this audit observation, because the county assembly has actually made certain recommendations.
Yes.
In most of the counties, there is no recommendation, to implement. So I would be quite interested in seeing the resolution of the county assembly on this, because it's a matter that affects them. But when we come to the substantive issue, I'll invite Chairman Kenyanya to comment. Failure to insure county government buildings.
They are not yet insured.
Irregular payment to Council of Governors and Lake Region Economic Bloc.
Still there.
That one, we have a resolution that was adopted when Governor Orengo was a leader of minority. So that resolution still remains on payments to Council of Governors. And then we have delayed, stalled, and incomplete projects.
Chair, I wish to confirm that this one has been completed.
The three-phase electricity power at the CR Stadium?
Yes.
So we can tick that. Installation of stadium VIP seats?
They have been installed, and our people are able to inspect.
Governor, is this a stadium where we played football in January?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is a stadium.
It's a okay.
And you sat on the seats also.
And on the issue of electricity, note that the CI Senator is the chairman of energy.
Of the energy
Senate, so he should be helping the county. They say charity begins at home.
Chairman does not provide electricity.
Yeah, let's allow the chair to be an overseer rather than an implementer. So installation of stadium VIP seats, that we can tick off. Delay in construction of perimeter wall at Migwena Sports Cultural Center.
The wall has been completed.
Again, is this the cultural center where
Yes.
where Senator Oburu's mother was found? Can you go on record?
Found and put, in the domestic domain.
Found and engaged. So this one, Senator Oburu, I hope that this wall exists, Senator. Perimeter wall at Migwena Sports Cultural Center.
That I must pursue vigorously. I must pursue that one very vigorously.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the auditor tells us that the wall has been built.
Has been put.
I don't know
Yes.
whether you have had an occasion to confirm that.
Okay. Then I will confirm. I have not been there recently.
Is that where we were also in January with President Museveni?
No.
We were there during the cultural activities, isn't it?
It was during the Pinto Cultural Festival,
Yeah.
which was in December last year. And by that time, the wall was complete. And
I think there was Museveni came in early January
yeah,
for the stadium.
the stadium, and they got Ramogi.
Certificate was given, and some photos were sent.
We didn't go to Migwena.
We also went to Migwena.
Yeah.
We also went to Migwena.
He was there.
So this is something that is verifiable. I mean, if there was a perimeter wall.
Chair, I want to confirm that a completion certificate was presented to me and photographs by the staff that I sent out. So unless they write to me, it is there, it's on record. Thank you, Chair.
Karaoke, but you know, photographs can be of any other wall. How do you know that was Migwena?
We trust our staff. So if someone...
We confirm that what you raised, there are no variations.
Yes.
And then the approval for extension was finally provided?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Again, with respect to Migwena, there was washrooms, graveling works, waterworks, powerhouse, and electrification. Governor, is that closed now?
Yeah, but that is done.
Auditor, you can confirm?
Yes, I confirm it's complete.
Chair Kenyanyi, in your report, did you confirm that it is complete? The washroom, graveling works, waterworks, powerhouse, and electrification at Migwena?
Yes, it was done. It has been done.
You did an actual visit?
Did a visit, yes.
Okay. Irregular escalation, project cost, and delay in construction of stadium? Auditor General?
This issue is not yet addressed.
Okay. So that we keep in view. We will deal with it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called CI.
Yes.
Okay.
So because there seems to be two elements. There's a delay in completion, but then there's also irregular escalation in project cost.
Yes.
So we are being told the project is complete. That's why we played football in it, but that does not deal with the cost escalation.
Yes. Yes.
So your concern as OAG is that we focus on the irregular project cost escalation.
Yes.
Okay.
And in future, this specific will go to your query.
Proposed construction of county aggregation and industrial parks.
Not yet complete.
Governor, this one is seems to be a global issue. Do we deal with it as a standalone audit query, or what is the situation with the county aggregation parks?
I think we've been slow, partly because of we needed to, because there's a partnership between the national government and the county government. There was a delay where we needed, and eventually we signed an agreement that allowed the national government to put funds in these projects, and also for us to put funds in those projects. And that was in line with the Constitution, where the national government can actually delegate, or the county government can also delegate its functions to the national government. But they need to be an agreement as required by the Constitution. After that delay, of course, there's exchequer problems, delays, and thirdly, we have had a problem with the contractor also.
Okay, so there's there are the execution issues,
Yeah.
but then there's also the broader policy legislative framework, because this comes as an additional allocation. Have you received the national government portion for this?
No, not all of it. We have received some.
For this financial year ending in 7 days?
I'll ask my
Chair, we received 53 million
Or for this financial year?
yes, at the start of the financial year.
Is that the amount that was in the County Government's Additional Allocation Act?
The total money that was there was supposed to be 250 million, and for the county we had put around 123 million, thereabout.
I don't know that to reframe my question. Perhaps Governor would understand me that when we approve the County Government Additional Allocation Bill and it's enacted, there's an amount due to CIA for the aggregation and industrial park. Has CIA received that full amount as per the Act?
We have not received the full amount, but we have received that amount of 53 million.
53 million.
Yes.
So the expectation is that there'll be a flood of, between now and 30th of June, that money will come.
The strategy that has been taken by the national government, they assess the work done, and since the money is coming from the same basket, as it were, counties that moved faster than others get a little bit more than the counties which are still slow. Because each county committed 250 million, which CIA did, but the component from the national government, the money flow depends on the assessments which have been done by the national government.
Okay, Senator Cherarki?
Maybe what apart from committing 250 million, what was the amount that was supposed to be given by national government? Governor, I've heard you say something about framework, because we are seeing it in CHVs now, we are seeing it in industrial park. And maybe, Chair, if you have noticed, this is a global problem. Almost all counties, this audit of industrial park is coming back on all audit reports. Governor, maybe I can pick your mind. What is the future of such engagements?
I think the problem with this project, it was like a replication of the old industrial estates, that the government comes up, national government, with a project which they think should be adopted at the county levels, and provides funding. And there's a political problem about that funding, because if counties elect not to access those funding, it becomes a political problem in the counties. But there is no assessment undertaken as to whether these industrial parks are necessary or whether they serve the purposes for which, they have been established. And I think this is one of the things, the debate that we must have when the national government decides what is good for the counties and commits money, when indeed some counties may not need those industrial parks. In fact, the way they were designed, it was like one design fits all. And you find some counties like, and excuse me if I give that example, like in the northern part of Kenya, those industrial parks, I don't think serve the purpose for which they were designed. They would rather use that money, if it was available, for other demanding projects. In a city like Nairobi, I think an industrial park using public resources, I think that is not putting any value to that money. And I think most of the fully urbanized counties like Nairobi and Mombasa, there have been some resistance. And getting the land, they were saying you must have minimum, I think, about 200 acres. Now in Nairobi, where did you get those 200 acres? So if you go now to the counties where industrial parks were built by national government at that time, you begin to realize that, there was no proper use of resources at that time. And most of those parks have turned into other things other than being industrial. Industrial, what were they called in industrial estates?
Aggregation industrial parks. With some countries are just big warehouses.
Can I conclude? Governor? Governor, so what are you saying? Was there a standardized legal framework for the whole countries which you have seen it? Or like what we saw in medical equipment supplies, where there was a standardized engagement, and you are with us in the Senate. So was there a standardized legal framework in terms of the engagement between the counties and the national government, or it was based on individual? So, and then finally, in your own opinion, because I would have expected on this issue of industrial park, why does the national government increase allocation to counties instead of dictating what they should do? Because like CHVs also, some counties, either the what they call stipend or what they call salary or allowances, are either being paid or not being paid. What is the long-term solution? You having been serving as the governor for some time and also being part of the Devolution family. Thank you, Chair.
Chairman, before the governor
Yeah,
answers.
Senator, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I would I would have liked to know from the governor whether he thinks that the industrial park in Siaya is serving much purpose, or he's also not very sure whether we should have it or not. Because, Mr. Chairman, I've been to industrial parks in Turkey. I've seen in Turkey, in a big city, in one of the biggest cities there, they have industrial park. And industrial park is, whether it is a big city or a rural city, is necessary because there are some investments which are not very conducive, are not very attractive to private sector. Like for instance, if you take the leather industry, the disposal of the leather or waste, the industrial waste is a bit expensive for the investors in leather industry. And so the governments take up those in industrial parks and they help in disposal of such industrial waste. And even in textile, sometimes it becomes a bit expensive for the private sector to invest. So even in big cities, the industrial parks are not really a waste as such. But for our county, I think industrial park is a necessity because we don't have industries as such. So maybe I put the question, I framed the question wrongly, whether you think it is necessary. I think it should be whether why we are not utilizing the funds as we should, why there is still queries on it, on the industrial park. Because we were with you when Moses Kuria came to launch the park, and personally I thought it was a very good idea, which our people should have taken up. I don't know whether it is marketing, which we are not doing, or if the marketing is there, what is the interest our people have taken to utilize whatever is there.
So that, Chair, the governor can answer all.
Okay, proceed.
This contractor requested for 15% advance, that is 72 million, but he was given 48 million. Most contractors are awarded contracts, they use their money, and then they are paid for measured works. This advance payment, was it part of the agreement with the county that they're given something in advance? And number two, in Siaya, I don't know the geography well and the economic activities, but what is it meant to aggregate? Because some counties are getting that a concept and project, and they have nothing to aggregate. You know, if you want to build an industrial park, an aggregation center, and you don't have mangoes to aggregate or anything to aggregate, then we're asking which should come first. Is it making sure that we have products, agricultural products to aggregate, and then you build the industrial park? Or is it building the industrial park, then now you have or develop the horticulture or agricultural produce to aggregate?
So, Governor, we are happy to have this conversation because Kenyani and his team have already looked at the numbers and the financial improprieties that have been pointed out by the OAG. Now, at the Senate, we are happy to discuss from that broad policy perspective. So this is not a wasted conversation. The primary overseers have already, gone through the numbers. But as you respond, let me allow Senator Sifuna to go on record.
Thank you, Chair, Governor, and the team from Siaya. My name is Edwin Sifuna, Senator Nairobi. Apologies, I was engaged elsewhere. I've just joined the conversation late, but I'll follow. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Today you are polite. You usually say, Mimi ndiye Sifuna. Governor, proceed.
I think industrial parks are necessary, but I think first you must do a study. And that study must have variations according to the needs of the different counties. I think that was not done. There was a design done at the national level, not only of the actual infrastructure, but how it was supposed to work. Now, I will give an example and say we need a modern cotton and textile industry. Now, if you take that industrial park, it's just a warehouse. We have talked to possible investors in the cotton industry. We produce quite a sizable amount of cotton, which is ginned in either in Thika or elsewhere. When they go and look at it and they say, this is just a warehouse, it does not measure up to our requirements. There is people interested in, building a sugar mill. In fact, one is ongoing, and we took two, not one. We took them to the industrial park, and they say, there's no way you can have a mill in this warehouse. Leather, we have tried people in the leather industry. So there needs to be a design that meets the requirements of the county and is realistic about its terrain and weather, and more importantly, is good at that early stage before the infrastructure is put on the ground, that you have a conversation with the private sector so they can talk to you about their needs. Yeah, but the private sector were not engaged, and in particular, members of the private sector who want actually to invest in that particular county. I believe that the investors that I've talked to and who are engaging with, had we had that conversation at that time, they would have gone to that industrial park, but demanded different kind of buildings. A ginnery is not just a warehouse. And there are many other things that you'd require. So a good idea, I've seen those industrial parks in big cities, but I think they're customized for the purposes of that particular city or urban area. In terms of implementation, the drive in these projects was by the national government. They got their own people, engineers on the ground, and there was a requirement, to make these projects move very fast. So they do not fall under the normal contracts where contractors are paid according to the work they've done. At the beginning, they were given a mobilization fee. In certain contracts, that actually works. So the high amount of money initially paid was the time frame. I think we were required to finish these projects within 8-9 months. So the contractors initially were allowed or were given a certain amount for mobilization and getting to work. So these amounts are high, and they're high because of that consideration at that time.
This is 23 billion when you look at it across the 47 counties, because it's $500 million per county. And Governor, you're saying in response to Senator Oburu's question that yes, they are necessary, but it's important to get the views of the stakeholders. So this 23 billion is likely to be another white elephant.
Well, I think we are going towards that direction. For example, if I was asked the question, the 500 million we are spending in that industrial park, 300 million would have enabled me to do a cotton ginnery in Siaya. With more value addition, I could have even done a textile, as part of this, as part of the ginnery. at 300 million. But now we are just build warehouses, and we got now to go out and ask people, you know.
The size of your warehouse is same size as the warehouse in Tarakaniti?
Kila mahali.
Same as the one in Nyamira?
Kila mahali.
Same design, same specifications?
Kila mahali.
Chair, you're not here when you were engaging Makueni, but Makueni said no. This one we are not taking up because then it's not serving our purposes. Why are other counties just picking that concept and yet it's not going to work?
Yeah, Governor, you with such clarity of thought and mind on this matter, why did you have to take it up instead of doing something else?
Chair, in addition, so that he answers both, in the IBEC, where you are engaging, or even at the summit level, have you expressed your reservations against this unilateral decision by the national government?
This has been a constant conversation of the Council of Governors at IBEC, but I'd want to tell you from Sia's point of view, where 2 years ago we had no single factory to talk about, and people want to see industry, whether it is agricultural based or is based on the blue economy, but they wanted to see some kind of factory which would change and transform their lives. Now, that's why I said it was a bit of a political issue, because if you refused to take that money, and they are seeing the brick and mortar coming up. You know, people are very impressed when they see, when the pictures are taken, and they're seeing big warehouses coming up in a county. They say, look at what our governor has done, or what the county government of Sia has done. I think that was the problem. But now that we have the baby with us, we can't throw that baby. And I want to assure this committee we're engaging a lot of possible investors and people in the private sector to come and engage with us, so that it's not a lost cause.
Senator Omogeni.
Yeah, it's more of a public relations exercise. Because when people see brick and mortar through the chair, they imagine it is development. And what do you mean by political? I know we are in broad-based at the moment. What do you mean? Thank you, Chair.
Before the governor responds, Senator Omogeni, I can see
Governor, yes, you know, I'm just wondering, now what do you leave in our answer? Do you know, next year we shall be having a same maybe audit query. Out there, the government is saying we are setting up industrial parks, and I agree with you that the design, I think, where these are tried to work well in Ethiopia, it is tailored for a region. You know, like in Nyamira, I could have expected that to focus on the food chain. You know, can do quality testing from our bananas, our pineapples. We have all those things there. Siaya maybe could have been textile. Now that I don't know that to call it mid-term review, because most counties have spent like 50%. What do you leave with us on the way forward? Makueni was here. He said no. I will not invest my money where I can't see any value. And now Siaya, you're also telling us this thing was pushed down the throat of the people of Siaya. And there is no really light at the end of the tunnel. There are no good news to the people of Siaya on the results from this investment. So what is the way forward, Governor?
You know,
because the auditor says they cannot see value for money for the people of that county where that money is being invested. And it's the same thing here in Nyamira. Even toward it, the governor says this is just a warehouse. There's nothing else, just a warehouse, that is it.
Governor, before you respond, Senator Sifuna.
Chair, I think it is a bit unfair, the question that has been put by the Senator for Nyamira. Governor, you know that whereas there is no value for the people of Siaya, there is value for the people who are getting those contracts to build those things. It is that simple. It is that simple. These things are being forced down the throats of counties because somebody is making money. Huh? That's what I'm saying, Senator.
The contractors eat and go.
That's what I'm saying, Senator. I was in that
long-term benefit for the people.
There was no intention. Chair, can you protect me? Order members. Senator Sifuna is saying.
Come from
Senator Cherarke.
Oh, sorry.
Senator Sifuna is saying the benefit is in the stomach.
Correct. And I can point to the stomach that money is going into. I am not afraid because we know these decisions are being made here in Nairobi without any reference at all to the county governments. And if you ask the governor there, even if he knows who the contractor is, he'll tell you he doesn't know. Maybe they are given the contractors from Nairobi. We are just in a building spree because there's people who are in the business of supplies of materials for cement, for steel, and all the others. It is not just even these warehouses. When the governor of Makueni was here, he told us in no uncertain terms that nobody wants to listen to him, even just in terms of change of design or the size of the building, because all of these things are being decided here in Nairobi. And whether you like it or not, that project has to go on because people's stomachs have to be fed. It is that simple, Senator. Yeah. So even when you see the affordable housing program, it's a scam, and it will come to pass one of these 5 days.
Chair, is it fair under understanding order 105 to call affordable housing a scam? Yet Mukuru people are living. Can the Senator of Nairobi substantiate? And then it's unfair to people of Siaya. There are no contractors in Siaya. Chair, let us also be sensitive when we make that. You know, we want popularity, but we should not.
There is freedom of speech in Parliament. Proceed, Senator.
Yeah, I can assure you, Cherarke. I can assure you,
there is freedom after the speech.
Cherarke, you know, some of us cannot be intimidated or threatened, and the popularity I have is enough. I don't need to make any more become any more popular. I'm already there. But I have to say these things.
Can we go back to the subject?
Chair, you know, we should not be gagged. And the good thing is that our chair here understands that this is a house of debate, and we are allowed to say things in Parliament. So, Governor, we sympathize with county governments. We are trying our best to get the national government out of county affairs, but you know we are doing badly. And for me, the way forward is only one, Senator from Nyamira. For as long as we do not get the national leadership of this country right, it doesn't matter which geniuses you put as governors in the counties. Devolution is never going to work because we have the biggest enemy of devolution sitting at State House. Is that simple?
Point of order, Chair. Where did Sifuna sleep over the weekend? Because he might have eaten wrong.
What is out of order?
The biggest threat to me, and he knows, against devolution is the National Assembly, because they have refused to appropriate enough resources to counties. Where does the money in State House come in, Chair?
There are very many men in State House.
And you know we are broad-based, and of late the governor has been the champion of broad-based, Chair. So can we
Senator Cherarke,
Chair? The moment Chair allow Senator Sifuna to make sweeping statements, it will attract the equal rebuttal, Chair. Because when you accuse the president that
I don't think he didn't accuse the president. He didn't mention the president.
I know he's the SG of ODM, but
there are many people in State House, including Governor Nanok. Even Nanok sits in State House.
Senators,
and we are on record as saying that he belongs somewhere else.
Chair, I want to urge you, you are a good Adventist. Fear the people only who kill the soul, and don't fear your SG of ODM. You are protected, Chair.
Okay, let's proceed, honorable members.
If I just make an intervention.
Governor, please respond, but be more politically correct so that Cherarke does not lose his cool.
I am just looking at this conversation, whether it is broad-based or narrow-based, and where we come in that conversation.
Tom-based.
That's a new one. Order, Senator Oburu. You cannot. You might need to substantiate what you are saying. What bottom-based is, but Governor. Governor.
My belief is that if you examine, and this house is supposed to support devolution. And if devolution has to work, then it's not a matter of politics, it's a matter of constitutional principles and foundations. You go to a lot of countries where they, either from the north, south, US, India, where devolution works. And it's not a question of political parties, it's a question of the system. And I get appalled when we're having a conversation like this, that then it can become a debate about whether we are broad-based or not, because devolution is part of structure of governance. It's not a matter of policy of an administration at any one time. So we come here in that light to make these entities work. So I plead with you, Chair, as somebody who has been in this House, and now I'm down in the counties. If this institution as a parliament does not support devolution, then we are in a terrible place. I had a delegation last year from state senators from California, and they were saying California is the 5th richest economy in the world because devolution works there. Now, I think in Kenya, counties are going to depend on who is the principal power in the land. I think if that's the conversation we're going to have, then I think we should amend the Constitution again. And we should make this thing work. Whether Kanu is in power or whatever party is in power, the formula for division of revenue is there. So all these conversation, Mr. Chairman, I think we should always go back to the Constitution to give us the dividend for devolution, which should reach every county in the land. And that's why looking at these parks, industrial parks, aggregation parks, we should look at it, was it good for devolution or was it not? Was it a project that, and if you look at the Constitution, the words are there, was it taking value to the counties or not giving value to the counties? And that would be my comment on this one.
Now, members, Senator Omogeni, you have previously made the proposal, which we have agreed on, that we need a proper scrutiny of conditional grants. This is one of them. And there are many others. There are some that have been well received. I think our conversations around FLOCA, it seems to be fairly well received by counties. But this is one additional grant that does not seem to be on the way to delivering value. So, clerks, this matter we have discussed previously. We need to have a conversation on conditional grants. And Patrick, the last time we had asked that you table the Auditor General's reports on conditional grants. I don't know whether that happened, but we can prosecute that at our next meeting and have this matter on the agenda.
It's okay, Chair.
Yeah, members, I think that should help us to bring some closure to this matter. The reason why we have taken the approach we have taken of adopting what the Auditor General agrees has been resolved is because the County Assembly, for the first time, or the first County Assembly we have encountered, has done a very thorough and comprehensive report. It would not be a very efficient use of the time of the Senate to go back and re-interrogate what the County Assembly has interrogated and what the Senate had also interrogated after in the month of March. So, Auditor General, we had agreed that the issues that then remain outstanding in this report must be pushed to the next audit cycle, that is 2024, 2025. I don't know whether you have started that audit.
We have started already. I think I've sent some staff who are already in CIA.
Okay.
Yes.
So the audit for 24-25 has commenced.
Yes, it has.
And I don't know whether, Patrick, you have communicated to Wanakariuki that we have directed that prior year issues must all be listed rather than them coming as one paragraph.
Chairman, that communication has been sent where all prior year matters will be listed in the relevant paragraph relating to prior year issues not resolved.
So everything that we have left here as unresolved, we should expect to see them addressed in the subsequent audit report.
Chairman, that should happen. Maybe I can also add that we have been able to analyze the report of the committee that was adopted on the 27th of March. It's already in our system and shared to the relevant director so that they do follow up. Chairman, in the next cycle, when you'll be reporting for 2024-2025, you should be able to get a report of the Auditor General on the follow-up that she has done on the report of the committee. On the implementation status, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Now, the ESCC, Patricia, you have shifted. ESCC, you have done a corruption risk assessment on CIA. Please let us know the date and the action that has been taken subsequent to that.
Yes, Chair. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission conducted a corruption risk assessment on, it was signed on May 2023, which highlighted areas of focus for the County of Siaya for action. And I have shared a copy with this committee, Chair.
Governor, are you aware of a corruption risk assessment that was done on in 2023, in the month of May?
Yeah, I think we have it.
What actions have been taken? Because that's now 1 year down the line.
I think it involved various sectors and is work in progress, that I can say. But if you are allowed at an appropriate time to file a report showing and demonstrating what actions have been taken, we'll be very glad to do so.
ESCC, what is your expectation of the county government?
The expectation is after a period of time, we have what we call an implementation tracking, which means we give the county time to look at the issues that were raised by the ESCC, action them or provide a time frame for actioning them, and give feedback on the progress, Chair. So that has not happened for Siaya County.
So you do the assessment, you share with the county executive, but you don't agree on a matrix for implementation.
We give them time to, there's an implementation matrix, we give them time to address the issues that have been raised by ESCC. Some of them take a short period of time, some of them can take a longer period of time, and then they revert by giving a tracking tool showing what has been done to implement those issues. Sometimes if it is not done by the county themselves, ESCC then follows up thereafter to go and check the status of implementation.
So, Auditor General, we had discussed this earlier. The same manner in which you have cited failure of the executive to implement recommendations of the County Legislative Oversight Committee, could you also do an assessment on whether the county has implemented the recommendations of the ESCC and report to us?
Chair, we are well guided. In fact, what we had discussed and what the office has agreed is that all oversight bodies, not only ESCC, but all others, we shall be following them and including them as part of our audit report. Thank you.
Okay, so that then provides us that assurance that that report will not go to waste. Governor, follow up that report. I've seen samples of those reports. They're usually very detailed, and they tell you things that even the OAG sometimes will not tell you. It's a very good tool for you to be aware of the contents, because the reports, I've seen some of them, are very comprehensive. So the OAG will be tracking that, and just make sure that you whip your team in line to ensure that they respond to that report. There are, I think, three very broad things that we must deal with. Number one, Governor, I think for some time, the wage bill in Siaya used to be below 35%. When I look at the numbers here, you appear to have gone to close to 40%. Where are you? Because there are few issues here of HR, which the auditor is going to report on in the next audit. Things like compensation of employees, excess and unsupported payment of allowances, etc., etc. Those are things that add up to your wage bill. Why is your wage bill growing, and yet with your revenue growing, that percentage should be remaining constant or reducing?
I've always held the argument that there are certain sectors, if you make them part of the wage bill, then you end up denying services. Like one of the areas where we were forced to recruit quite a number of people was in the health sector. You know, doctors, we had, in fact, the other day we were here before the Ososi committee, where the observation was that we did not have certain personnel in various medical institutions that were supposed to have a certain number of nurses, for example. So in order to reach that level of employment of skilled staff, particularly in the medical profession, we have had to employ doctors, employ nurses, clinicians, so that in the 11 or so hospitals that we have, we would have doctors, clinicians, dentists in the service. The other area is where SIA is doing very well, ECD teachers. It is just last year that we decided to put them on permanent and pensionable terms, all our ECD teachers. And that, you know, made the wage level go up. And I could go on and on, but imagine constructing these ECD centers, and you have volunteers, some of them unqualified, to take care of kids. If they're not taken care of at that young age, their life will never really be the same, because that initial contact with their trainers at these ECD institutions are very critical. So actually we can demonstrate where we had to recruit a number of staff. But I believe in the next financial year, we may do a little bit better than we have done in reduction of the wage bill. The other sector is also the agricultural extension officers, and in the blue economy, we have had to recruit quite a number of staff in those sectors.
Yeah, those could be the global causes, but the Auditor General has pointed out at specific cases where compensation of employees was not done in line with the law. And we have asked the Auditor General to reflect on the recommendations of the County Assembly and give us a more comprehensive report. The National Treasury, maybe that conversation that the Governor is alluding to needs to be had, because when fuel is used, when you fuel an excavator to do a road, that fuel is capitalized, isn't it? But when you fuel a car to go to a meeting, that fuel is part of operations. So in terms of classification, I don't know whether it's something that is in the works to take into account what the Governor is saying. When you pay a doctor to deliver health service, which is a function of the county government, How do you then classify that? I think there's been an argument that that then ought to be capitalized as development. It's contrary to accounting principles, but maybe there needs to be a way of looking at the component of staff, and then we check out which percentage are doctors, which percentage are engineers, and which percentage are those that we call sanguenas. Because you might hide behind doctors and nurses, and yet you've got a staff establishment full of ghost workers who are delivering nothing of value. So, Auditor, could you also try to test that?
Indeed, when we are doing projects, the labor that goes into that project is supposed to be capitalized. But when we are paying other expenditure like drivers for chauffeuring you, that's a recurrent expenditure and it's considered an expense. So, but sometimes the line between the two becomes very thin, because I've heard that there is a teacher who was asking me, a university lecturer who was asking me, when we do research, why should that be used as a recurrent expenditure? We are guided by accounting standards, and they will tell us when to capitalize and when to expense. Although sometimes there is a lot of judgment in that. But as he has said, we are going to explore and see what can be taken to development and what can be taken to expenditure, because actually I would treat health as a development expenditure. Thank you.
But this kind of breakdown analysis, if you have a county public service board that is functional, then it's also possible to get a breakdown that fine, we have put it as recurrent, but we are able to tell that the productive workers are taking this percentage and the rest, the joyriders, are taking this percentage. Isn't that possible to break down, OAG, if you demand from the county secretary and the public service board?
Well, sometimes it's difficult to do that share unless you are looking at a manufacturing entity. When it comes to hospitals, even a nurse who works in an anesthesia is equally as important as the doctor. So there is a very thin line between that development and current expenditure. But going forward, what I'm saying is that I will consult even ISPAC to see what they have to say about it.
Okay.
But we also have access to our international bodies. We can also see how they treat.
Yeah, let's see how to bring that clarity. Governor?
Yes.
Chairman, I think it's also important to look at the full picture. If you look at what we are putting in development, say now we are about 37%, and we are trying to get to 40%. So we are suppressing some operations which we think are not critical, in order not to compromise, investment into development projects and sustaining the ones that we have built. And there's another issue, if you allow me to comment, which has brought some bit of controversy. This health workers, if they were to be recruited by the county public service board, then they have been recruited in accordance with the laws of Kenya, which commonly we are moving away from having casual workers, because literally those are contracts of enslavement. Now, these health workers are paid stipends by counties. If they were to be recruited as workers, then our wage bill will shoot up, because then you have to pay them living wages instead of paying them a stipend. And what they're paid is not a salary, it's a stipend. And I hate that in our counties we are paying people 3,000 shillings and hoping to sustain them as health workers. It can't really work. But it cannot be the subject of recruitment by the County Public Service Board, because County Public Service Board can only recruit people who are engaged in terms of the Employment Act. and not on the basis of the kind of stipend to pay the health workers.
Yeah, that's also another matter that the Council of Governors and national government are yet to agree on. The Governor Muthomi Njuki was here. He's a chair of the Health Committee. And I think there were some conversations with respect to that. I'm not sure whether you have resolved the impasse on particularly on okay, there's UHC and then there's the community health practitioners. On UHC workers, have you absorbed your share of employees?
I think the matter is still not fully resolved because UHC workers were actually engaged by national government, and you find most county governments will not be able to foot the bills for UHSC workers. But as regards the question of resolution of the debate around health workers, you know, there was a period where we were in competition, where national government was paying part of the stipend directly, and the county governments were paying the stipend also. I think the decision should be made is whether they should remain in the domain of the counties and resources be channeled to the counties, and the national government would have nothing to do with the health promoters, and should be left, and then if it is left to the counties, resources should then follow functions.
Though, Governor, to be fair to the Senate has already approved an additional allocations bill or act that has transferred the CHP component to the counties. In terms of the salaries, the national government portion should come to the counties so that the counties do the payment. But we still hear the national government paying directly.
They're still being paid directly by the national government.
So what should be done? Because that's a violation of an act of parliament. An additional allocation bill should transfer the resources to you to do a defined function. Why should they pay directly? And I say this because in one of the mediation sessions that we had with the National Assembly on that bill, some members of the National Assembly were asking, what is the worst that can happen if we don't pass this bill? In their mind, they felt that the national government can still continue doing those things directly. Whether they are industrial parks, they can pay the contractors directly. They can pay the CHPs directly. They can pay flocker things directly. They can pay contractors on KISIP directly. That is the thinking in the National Assembly, and I think that could be the thinking also in the National Executive.
A lot of these things, if Parliament does not act as a body, then the good intentions of the Senate will negate it all the time. At least we have seen what the Senate is doing in protecting counties. But it is not an obligation only on the part of the Senate. It's an obligation to the National Assembly and to the Executive. I'm not afraid to say that the intransigence in the National Assembly is being encouraged by the national government. If they were clear on this matter, I don't think these problems would arise.
Okay, honorable members, I'd hope that we'll be done with this session by 1 o'clock. We are about 6 minutes past 1 o'clock. The other thing that we must deal with, even though the auditor will report on it substantively, is why don't you have an automated system for revenue collection? That is what the Auditor General has established here. I'm extremely surprised that CIA would not have a properly functioning revenue collection system.
We have an automated system now, although it is not yet universal, but it covers the main revenue streams. but it's work in progress. And I think the Auditor General, I don't know the last time the Auditor General checked on this. We have even a dashboard where we are able to follow revenue collections by the hour, by the minute. It is there.
Governor, if that was the case, could you tell us how much of your own source revenue is collected through the system and how much is collected manually?
Chair, to answer on behalf of the governor, we have 11 structured revenue streams that is collected through the system. And then we have an additional unstructured 14, which is not collected through the system.
In terms of values?
Value for the 11 contributes like 95% of the revenue. The other unstructured contributes like 5%.
Auditor General, your concern was that it was not fully implemented, but the county is saying that 90% 99%?
95% of structured revenue utilizes the system.
So they are talking of 95% already in the system, or is that the position?
Yes, you know, 95% is not 100%. Yes. So what I'm saying is not fully automated. But going forward here, we already have some team members who are in the field, and we are going to call our ICT personnel, experts, to come and see how the project is going.
Senator Cherake?
Governor, according to CRA, I think the fiscal analyst Salat is here. What is the revenue potential of CIA as of today? The revenue potential. Yeah, revenue potential of CIA as of today, as opposed to what you actually collected, because it will point out into clarity of through the chair the revenue collection systems. Because the reason we push for automation of revenue system and I sit in ICT committee is to ensure that the leakages are sealed. So what is the revenue potential vis-a-vis what you are collecting?
Governor?
At the moment, we don't have a valuation role, but I think in 2 months we'll accomplish in having in place a valuation role. If you have that valuation role in place, I think we can collect anything beyond 1.5 billion shillings. But even without that valuation role, ever since we automated, I think our revenue collection has gone up by about 35–40%. We started my first year. The collection was about 400 million. Now we are at the close of the month. This month, and the close of the financial year, we think we'll be at about $1 billion in 2 years.
So, Chair, so apart, I told the CRA fiscal analyst, what is the revenue potential of CRA according to CRA?
Chair, as per CRA estimate, the revenue potential for CRA county government is 1.1 billion. In comparison to neighboring county like Homa Bay, then Homa Bay has less revenue potential than CIA, but they collect more revenue than CIA. Yes.
We are at that debate here.
And Governor, I'm just looking at it, because your reported growth in revenue is coming from hospital fees.
Correct, that is where
from 273 million to 382 million. And we have had this debate about doing business with the sick. And with FIF,
yes,
then these numbers are not going to appear on this schedule.
Correct.
Will they?
Yeah, but in revenue collection in hospitals, without an automation, quite a lot of that money was not being collected. In fact, we started by going into the hospitals. In fact, the two first institutions we went to was the County Referral Hospital and the Yala Hospital. And I think CIA is not the only county where quite a bit of revenue comes from from hospitals. But there is growth across the board, except in market fee, which is very difficult to...
Governor, in the past you had a dim view around reporting hospital fees and using it as a basis for priding yourself in growth of revenue. And I shared your view then. Has your position changed?
It does not change. All I'm saying is that that revenue has grown because of automation. We are talking about automation. And
not because more people are getting sick?
No, not at all, not at all. In fact, if you look at the numbers of people coming to hospitals, there's no phenomenal growth that will reflect this growth of nearly 100% of revenue.
Because in an optimal situation, if you're making the right investments in the health sector, and if this thing called SHA is working, ideally we should be seeing a drop in the cost of hospitalization, isn't it? Instead of a growth. So when you see 100 million growth, it's either people in C are getting sicker, or it is an indication that there used to be theft in the past. There are better controls. So which of the two is it? Is it better controls or people are getting sicker?
I think it's obviously better controls. Better controls. I visited quite a number of these hospitals, and I don't think, and I have gone there in person, I don't think the growth in terms of the sick who come to these medical institutions is any higher, which speaks to the efficiency as far as revenue collection is concerned when you have an automated system.
It could also be growth in the levies charged in the hospital. So I think, Auditor, when you're looking at the revenues, it's also good to look at the Finance Acts to see if there is any growth in the levies charged. There are counties that are charging, like for X-ray, more than what is being charged in the private hospitals. So I think all that analysis should be seen within the realm of levies charged, better controls, and maybe increase, as Chair is saying, of sick people.
Governor, if this health thing was working, now you are the practitioner on the ground, if this SHA thing was working, what would be the hospital fee chargeable on an ordinary member of the public? Is this 382 million money charged on members of the public, or these are rebates from the insurance?
Chair, in the 382, there's some component of the NHIF capitation, right, which are rebates, and then there is also the charges that we charge there. That, if you look at that 23-24, because SHA came in October last year, is when it effectively got in. Now, if you do the comparison of 24 and then you go to 25, you will see the charges for the hospital as substantially reduced, almost around 89 million. But for the SHA, it has gone up. Now, for the SHA, there are two components: what has been paid, and also what we are claiming that has not been paid. But a huge component of that you'll find is also NHF capitation, and also the facilities charges. But
they are still user fees.
They are still user fees.
Senator Mugen.
No, you have not answered the question.
Yeah.
Are the people of Siaya benefiting from the SHA card? Like, do they walk to a hospital as a one-stop shop? Do consultation, you prescribe medicine, and they get medicine over the counter from the hospital. Can you tell us that the people of Siaya are getting value for money?
Chair, from Siaya, yes, in terms of one-stop shop, it is there. I'll give you, for example, the incidences for this financial year. Total, what you have claimed from SHA is 289 as at the end of May, 289, out of which around 110 million is what has not been paid. But in terms of improvement. What you can see, SHA, when it started, it had a teething problem, but over time, it has started improving, and where people in SHA are able to get their services in proper.
Through the chair, I thought your statistics should tell us that we attended 800 patients, and all these patients were, they consulted the physicians or the doctor who prescribed medicine, and they got medicine from our government pharmacy. I mean, if you give us those statistics, that's when we'll be able to conclude and say, yes, it's working.
Because the numbers here suggest that the breakdown you're talking about, out of your 382 million, 199 million was user fees. Almost 200 million paid as user fee. And yet we are being told of this universal health thing where you walk into a hospital and get treated and go home without paying 200 million.
Yes. I think this is still really work in progress. My experience is that even from the point of view of registration, a lot of people are unable to get registration. When the word out there is that you go in a medical institution and you be able to register in the system. And that goes also with the service. I think it's still work in progress. I think the jury is still out there. But I will not give it, a pass mark yet until, we have had a certain period of implementation. It's still got quite a bit of teething problems.
Senator Cheraki?
Chair, Governor, sorry, I think you have had the revenue potential should be 1.1 and CRA, and they have markers that they do that. While I appreciate that you are still working on valuation report, which means you are still failing by the mark. But according to financial statements, 2022-2023, the total revenue from on source revenue are 5 over 5 or 1 million. Then you added almost 100 million, that's 364. So I am looking at the collection. I've heard you saying you have challenge with market fees, but the difference is that in the 2022-2023, you collected more at 32 million.7, but in 2023-2024, it fell by a difference of 2 million. On the property rent, Governor, which I think you are doing valuation report on the same, is that in 2022-2023, you are collecting only 279,000, but is significantly pushed to 13.5 million Kenya shillings. So, Governor, this discrepancy, I'm using just property rent through you, Chair, is so huge. That is why you are missing the target by almost 12 million Kenya shillings. So what is happening with this property rent? That in the previous year, that is financial year 2020-2023, you are collecting 279, but it leaped to 13.5 million. So and even on fines, penalties, and forfeiture fees, in this year under consideration, you collected nil. But in the previous year, you are collecting 105,250 shillings, Chair. So my concern, Chair, on this issue of on-source revenue is there is some disparity. And Governor is saying there are better controls. Who was the governor before you? Maybe it will point out why. Do you attribute it to the former administration, or do you attribute it to better controls, or do you attribute it to automation, yet lack of valuation report? Where is the challenge in achieving the target of 1.1 which CRA put it? I think the former governor was called Colonel Rasanga, who used to pay air tickets for some individuals. I think I remember that guy, but anyway, that's a story for another day. You need to look for me, I'll tell you who he was paying air tickets for. So my point is, where is the challenge?
Governor, and be precise, because we have another meeting in the afternoon. We need to adjourn this meeting.
I think that's a wide and valid question. We have had challenges because a lot of our properties that are county properties, they are not registered. They do not have title deeds. They are on county land or government land, but they're not registered. So we enter into frequent disputes with tenants. The other thing that we resolved is that we had some dispute with the National House Corporation. They own some houses, we own some houses which were essentially at the beginning built by them. So in a period where we said we need to agree on what they owe us and what we owe them. And recently we have come up with a figure. I think National Housing Corporation owes us more money than we owe them. Once that debt is settled, the figures that you're talking about will look a little bit better. But we went slow on them because we welcome a major construction they're doing in Sia, which they have commissioned, worth over 200 million shillings. But in Sia, the challenge has been a lot of houses don't have titles, and tenants, when they come, and if they're the county government officials, they tend not to pay. And since they are staffs, sometimes we find it very difficult to evict them.
But
although we should deduct some of those rents from their salaries, but when they have a lot of deductions, sometimes
But Chair, the governor has enforcement askaris. Why don't you enforce? Like KRA, if you don't pay, they come for your neck.
That we don't want to do.
Or it's also political.
We want it to be a matter of duty,
Yes.
for people to pay tax. Using non-revenue enforcement officers
Yes.
can also have a lot of challenges. I think the Kibaki magic was a little bit better. Appeal to the taxpayers or those who should pay to pay instead of taking.
So what, Chair, through the Chair, Governor, we want to assist. So if I stay in a house in Siaya and I am an employee of Siaya County Government, your officers will just come and babysit me and tell me, please pay. If you don't pay, how will we achieve this target of collecting rent? Why don't you even, I know you have the county attorney, which your sister has in passing the county attorney act. Why don't you even issue eviction orders for some individuals who don't want to pay? Because if they don't pay, you don't have money to maintain those houses. You don't have also revenue to maintain public utilities and amenities within Siaya town or within the municipalities. What is the long-term strategy? Because my worry in the previous year, 2022-2023, you are collecting 279,000 according to your receiver of revenue. It jumped to over 13 point something million Kenyan shillings. How will you? And then finally, are you working with other government agencies like Ministry of Lands to ensure you get titling of most of this property so that it is easy for you to do collection of your resources through the Chair? If you can confirm to us, we will make a progress, and if there is any policy intervention that we might resolve, we'll go to the House, it will be easy. So where is the gray area that does not allow you to achieve? Sometimes do you give even waivers in terms of land rates within the properties in Siaya, or what do you do? Because that target of collection of revenue is very critical for the growth of Siaya County. Thank you, Chair.
Governor?
The simple question, there's some growth. If you look just from your statement, from a figure of 279,000 the previous financial year to 13 million shillings this year, I think that's phenomenal growth. But I think this is an area where there's been lack of emphasis, if I may put it that way, because of the previous practices. You know, a lot of the houses that became county property were handed over by the national government. But by the time we were taking over those properties, they are all already tenants. In fact, most of the rents that are owed are historical, from 10, 15 years ago. So it makes rent collection difficult. We are in constant discussions with the National Land Commission. I think they're coming to CI in about 2-3 weeks to determine this question of title deeds, not only to houses where residential houses, but you find such essential properties owned by the county, including the county hospital, the stadium, the county headquarters, the county assembly. All of them lack titles. And that's why we engaged the National Land Commission to try and find a pathway towards a faster way of titling properties belonging to the county.
Governor, if I was to just interrupt, the day after tomorrow it will be 25th of June, and it will be 1 year since Kenyans came out to protest against a finance bill. And there is a generation that does not know that there used to be a poll tax in this country. A poll tax was a tax on every adult, isn't it? And it was assumed that if you're an adult, you must be able to go out and work, and you need to pay a tax. My generation didn't see it. I only hear about it from the songs of Nyatiti. I think the Gwanglelo of this world, they tell stories of that era. Personally, my view has never been to tax individuals irrespective of whether they are able or disabled, working or not. Tax should be on the basis of service. Tax should be on the basis of productivity. So we can push you to do a valuation roll, we can push you to come up with different rates for Siaya Town and Bondo Town, but you'll never be able to collect. In fact, you'll be voted out of office for imposing high taxes. In fact, it's part of the opposition. When you declare an area a town or a municipality, or it becomes a city, then the rates become different. The conversation we should be having is linking the gross county product, its growth, to the growth of on-source revenue. We might not be able to get to the bottom of that conversation right now, but please let it be on record, clerks, when you're writing our report, that we made the observation that property rent from a collection of 279,000 grew by 13 million. Now the question would be, was someone stealing from the county? Because there is no way you can move from 279,000 to 13 million on the same economic fundamentals. On advertising, outdoor advertising, you previously collected 2 million and then you reported 11 million. With the same economic fundamentals, was someone stealing in 2022-2023? And then the final question is, the receiver of revenue, was he or she the receiver of revenue in that duration? Governor?
I think there are some that are explainable. Advertising, we had many activities last year that attracted a lot of outdoor advertising on our billboards. For example, when we had the Pinlo Festival and the Migwena Festival, there was a lot of advertising that, were fees that were being paid.
So you are satisfied that we are not stealing from the county in the prior years?
No. I'm just explaining the rise, but also I think the controls are working a lot better, and that's why there's that.
Okay, let's leave it there. Minority Leader, please go on record.
Yes, thank you.
And you came when we were just ending the conversation, so go on record and you can also make some remarks if necessary.
Thank you, Chair. My name is retired Justice Stewart Mazayo. I am the Senator of Kilifi County and the Minority Leader in the Senate. I think in the same capacity as my senior brother, James Orengo. I'm here as a friend of the committee to see how they're doing, and I can see with our able chairman, you're doing very well. I came also to say hello to the delegation of CIA, which is being led by my brother, James Orengo, who has been our senator also in this parliament, and a very respected person in this country as one of the greatest lawyers we have. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Mazayo. We are concluding, and I will repeat the directives we have made. We have taken note of the issues that are resolved. The issues that are not resolved or partially resolved shall form part of the next audit cycle. But again, I want to congratulate the County Assembly for making our life easy. If the rest of the county assemblies could do this, then when the governors come to Nairobi, we will have broad policy conversations. We will not have to go into payment vouchers. Indeed, Governor, of late, and Senator Sifuna, you might confirm this, that of late we have not been receiving those kind of volumes of documents. Your volumes are too many. The audit should not happen at the Senate. The audit should happen at the county. When you come to the Senate, we should have conversations on policy, conversations on legislative matters. That then brings us to a close with that clarity that the Auditor General has work to do in the 2024-2025 audit. Could we have closing remarks? Senator Cherargei, go ahead.
Who is Odinga Jackton Ouma, Chief Officer of Finance? Is he here with us? What is your ISPAC number? Or what is your background? Through the chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm an accountant. I've done up to part 2 of CPA.
So you don't have ISPAC number?
Yes, Chair.
You are the one who signed off the financial statements?
No.
No, are you denying and it is here?
It's
You signed in what capacity? Chief Officer?
As Chief Officer.
So, Chief Officer...
the CCM refusing that you didn't sign? Or the spirit of resisting?
Honorable members, I think the responsibility is on us to legislate minimum qualifications for Chief Officer Finance.
Okay.
There we have failed. Yes. Because the Chief Officer Finance really should have certain professional qualifications, just the same way a county attorney is required to be a member of the Law Society of Kenya. I think that has been a failure on our part.
Finally, Geoffrey Ochieng.
He's not in.
Is Geoffrey Ochieng with us? What is the reason he's not here, Governor? Through the chair.
Why? Who is Geoffrey Ochieng? Maybe guide the chair so that we confirm the relevance of the question.
There are two people who sign financial statements of Odinga Jackton Ouma, CEO of Finance, and also Geoffrey Ochieng, Head of Accounting Unit.
Let us leave it to the Auditor General to verify. And OAG, that must be the first thing we check. Senator Cherargei.
Fair question, Chair. I really want to know why he's not here and he's the one who signed off. If he can say he's sick or unwell or he has a permission of government, then we leave it like...
Governor, quick response.
He was with me until about 2 days ago, but I thought he would be here, but I'm being told he was feeling unwell. Okay. But I probably cannot vouch for that.
Again, the clarity we must provide to counties, because we demand that the CEO, who is the governor, is here. But I think we need to give clarity that the signatories to the financial statements must accompany the governor, as well as the chair of the county audit board, as well as the secretary of the county audit board, who is the internal auditor. Clerks, that's something we have agreed on, that we shall communicate to entities. In terms of closing, any... If there is any matter or any comment in closing, conscious that we have another meeting in less than 1 hour. Senator Wambua, we limit ourselves to 2 minutes max.
Yes, Chair, we'll try. Chair, I've come in when there was a conversation around a rise in property rent from 279,000 to that 10 million. I got the tail end of it. I'm not sure, Chair, whether you canvass this issue of miscellaneous receipts. If you did, then I will look at the answer, because I'm seeing a dip of almost 20 million from 27,626,000 to 7 million. But if that was canvassed, then I can always look.
Those are the issues we are asked the Auditor General to look at in the substantive audit. We didn't speak to that exactly, but we pointed out a few other variances.
Okay.
I think in terms of closing, let's just restrict ourselves to any recommendation to the governor rather than going back to the numbers.
Chair, maybe in closing I can say two things. One is, Governor, I hope you, being a member of Council of Governors, although it looks like it's a club of billionaires, but I want to request you that we anchor the COG into law. Please, on the issue of division of revenue, you have seen the mediated version that was debated in Parliament, National Assembly last week. Our position was that counties must get 465 billion Kenya shillings. Governor, as you go back to consult your colleagues, please, it is not fair to counties that we are having a national budget of 4.2 trillion Kenya shillings, yet counties are getting 415 billion. I hope, Governor, as you go back, please kindly stand with the Senate. And then on issue of road maintenance levy fund, I want to thank you, because at least the position of the Senate on that 11 billion that is RLMF should go to counties, because we are better placed to know roads that need to be fixed within CI. And I hope, as even the National Assembly appeal, and I hope, I saw your colleagues wanting to go Nyume 10 to try and negotiate with National Assembly. I don't know why. Yet the position should be clear that us as parliamentarians, we should do legislation, oversight, representation, and budget making process. The implementation should be done by national executive and county executive. Governor, as you go back, I wish you well. You are a man that is respected in this country, and Chair, when we serve him, you could not know that it was wrong. He's a man who is very humble. Governor, I was happy to see you in State House leading the CI delegation. Let us partner so that for the benefit of this country and a broad base. I thank you, Chair.
The rest of the members, I think let's restrict ourselves to the business before us.
Chair, I humbly beg that we don't make those kind of political statements, because we may want to answer those political statements.
I have given guidance to my members.
They are totally uncalled for.
Order, Governor. I had said earlier,
but
and you uploaded. I'm on your side, Charake. I said earlier, and the governor uploaded, that there's freedom of speech in Parliament. So okay. Senator Charake has his freedom of speech.
But
so,
it's a fact.
No, it's your opinion. Yes. Honorable members, anybody with a pressing closing remark?
I could say it was Wamunyororo, he was there.
Governor, you are treading on dangerous grounds. You are the one who needs to withdraw some of the names that you are dropping here. Governor, you are closing, I think maybe Senator Madzayo, and then I allow the governor to make some closing remarks. I am aware you had reached out to me that he has another engagement, but that is not the reason why we are closing. We are closing because Kenyani and his team have done an excellent job of going through the details, and so we have gotten to the point where we have to push everything to the next audit cycle. So our leader in the House, I'll grant you an opportunity if there's anything you need to say, and then the governor will close.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think all I want to say is that the delegation from Siaya County, you're most welcome to come to the Senate. And we're happy to have you here. I believe I wasn't here earlier, but I believe your performance led by the distinguished Senator Governor James, has performed well, and it's up to the committee now to make its own conclusive remarks, which I believe will go a long way to establish Senate as the upper house. I thank you so much and wish you well. God bless you.
Governor, in closing.
I want to thank the committee and thank the Senate as a house. The stand you have taken in matters devolution cannot escape our attention, particularly when it comes to the division of revenue. I think over the years the Senate has stood as an institution, and more so during the current period. Secondly, on the question of the road levy, I think again we are standing together, and we need patriots in both houses to make devolution work. Otherwise, Chair, thank you, and I value the issue of oversight. This is a constitutional role. We take it seriously, and whatever discomfort the parties that appear before you may feel, at the end of the day, is a constitutional role which must be fulfilled, and you don't do it to please yourself, you do it on behalf of the people of Kenya, in accordance with the Constitution. I thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our meeting. I will not want to take too much time on further remarks because we are supposed to reconvene again at 2:30. The meeting is therefore adjourned. Sorry? Yeah, so we adjourn. Honorable members, we reconvene at 2:30. We wish you a safe journey back to Siaya.